This is Andrea from Plentyi. We go live every Wednesday, 7 p.m. on YouTube, and we talk about anything parking, right? So, like I said before in our previous live, if you have any questions about parking or is any topics that you would like us to discuss, please place it in the comments. Please. I just need you to provide it because we just love talking about parking over here. So, anyway, today our topic is top parking myths that are costing you tickets and money. And we're all about saving our money, putting keeping money in our pocket, and then also not wasting time and less stress in life. So today, right, we want to bust some of the biggest parking myths floating around about online, like Reddit threads, Quora answer, group chats, and even advice from our own family and friends that supposedly know the parking rules, right? Who knows the ins and out that we can go to. So, believing in these myths can cost us tickets. It can towing fees, higher stress, and wasted time. And we don't need to waste time on things like parking. So let's clear up some of these facts from fiction, right? What is facts and what's fiction? That's what we want to do. So the myth number one is if there are no signs right in front of me when I'm parking my vehicle, then parking must be allowed or free, or there are no parking rules. So I think a lot of times we think if we don't see a sign, then we don't have to apply. There's nothing that's saying that we cannot park here. And that's one of the myths that traps a lot of drivers. And I have been a person that been guilty of that in the past. People park, look at the pole next the people park and they don't see a pole that's right next to their car, so they don't see a sign and they assume that they're safe, and that's not actually true. So reality is parking regulations apply to the entire block or the zone. So, for example, if the parking pole, the sign is at the corner of the block, it still might apply to where you're parked at. So you might be parked in the middle of the block, but if there's a sign at the end of the block, most likely it applies. So you want to make sure you check. So I will say the thing you want to do, one of the tips is before you walk away from your car and assume that it's okay for you to park there, check the signs to make sure. Go from end to end to make sure there is a sign there saying either you can park there or you can't park there, because you might come out and your car will not be there. Okay. So just make sure you do that. And then also just a tool that you could use. This tool is, especially if you live in New York City, this tool is actually supposed to help people to know when the alternate side part, when the sweeping is coming through, the street cleaning is coming through. But you can also use this tool to find out if alternate side parking is in effect or it's not. It can't tell you about no standing, it can't tell you about no stopping, but it can tell you about alternate side parking. So you can go to sweepnyc.nyc.gov, type in the address of where you're at, and it'll let you know if you don't see any signs. It'll let you know if you can park there at that particular time where you're at. And then also, NYC does have an app that can assist you with understanding where the parking rules are and the regulations are. So check that out. Myth number two: parking tickets will make my insurance go up. Now, this one scared scared drivers, and but it's mostly false. Parking tickets are generally classified as a non-moving violation. That means that they don't reflect how you drive, only where the vehicle was parked. So, because of that, they usually do not go on your driving record, right? And they do not directly increase your insurance premium. So insurers, focus on ins- mostly auto insurers focus on moving violations like speeding, reckless driving, and at fault crashes, right? So, however, let's not ignore those parking tickets because we know that they can snowball into bigger problems. Unpaid tickets can lead to vehicle registration suspension, uh, booting, towing, additional fines. So we don't even though that is the case, we still it doesn't make your insurance go up higher. It can still have an impact on you, right? So the bottom line is the ticket itself isn't what hurts your insurance. Ignoring it and letting it go or letting it escalate can actually create risk. Myth number 3, if I'm sitting in the car, that they can't give me a parking ticket, right? So many drivers believe like, well, I'm sitting inside of my vehicle protects them from, because they think that I'm just waiting here, I'm not parked, that I can't get a ticket, a parking ticket. And in reality, that's incorrect. So enforcement is usually based on where the vehicle is located and the type of restriction in place. So if the sign says no parking, no standing, or no stopping, being in the driver's seat does not automatically make it legal. So, for example, you're sitting in a seat, you waiting for your friend. They went to go. Oh, I'm just gonna hop out real quick. Just let me out right here. Just stop at the no stand beside the bus stop. Don't worry about it. I'll be 5 minutes. So you think you're okay? You could do that? No, you actually can. So when it says no standing, no stopping at those actual places, actually a traffic enforcer or enforcement, traffic police enforcement. I could be saying that wrong. They can actually come and give you a ticket. So just be mindful of that. So the rule applies to, we have to change our mind shift, right? The rule applies to the vehicle position on the roadway, not your physical presence behind the wheel. Okay. Myth number 4, there's always a 5-minute grace period. Now, from my understanding in New York, there's a 5-minute grace period, right? Some drivers treat parking like a suggestion, assuming that they have an extra minute after the meter expires, right? In New York City, my understanding is that yes, there is a 5-minute grace period, but that doesn't mean that applies all over the country. So grace periods are determined by local law. Some cities do have a short legal grace period for certain situations, but many do not in numerous areas. So enforcement can begin immediately once the time expires or when the restriction starts. So just so in a real life situation, a driver leave their car for 3 minutes past the meter expiration and thinking it's okay, but the city where they're at, there's no grace period, no grace rules, and then also you can actually get a citation. So but assume there's no grace period, right? And unless you know for a fact that it is, assume that it's not, and be mindful of the timing. Because I know I've seen, you know, they actually come if the once the parking meter has expired, they are writing you a ticket, right? And we think that we have grace periods. So just be mindful of that. And the last myth, myth number 5, I can save a street parking spot with a chair, cone, or trash can. And this one, it really like irks my nerve. It really does because no, you cannot do that. And I think I talked about this so many times. The practice sometimes called using a parking chair. It's common in certain neighborhoods, but in reality, most public parking is first come, first serve unless officially marked otherwise, right? You have a permit for that space. So I'm just like chairs, cones, buckets typically does not give someone the legal rights to reserve a parking street space. So some communities they do tolerate that practice socially. But from a legal standpoint, that space is not yours. You cannot dominate that space, and we have to be mindful of that. And I think a lot of times people like, well, this is my space, this is my block, and yeah, I understand that. That is your block. You live there, but that space is not yours unless you actually got a permit and this is officially your space. And if not, then no, you cannot put that there. But a lot of people think they can. So, bottom line, street furniture might signal a custom, but it usually does not create a legal reservation. So, if you need to reserve a spot, you can come to Plentyi. You could go on our space, look for parking, and you can reserve a book space. But you cannot reserve it with street furniture. You just can't do that. So let's wrap this up. So a lot of parking rules drivers repeat are actually myths. Parking enforcement follows posted laws and municipal regulations. not assumptions or neighborhood traditions. So, to avoid tickets and stress, because we don't like the stress over parking, read the entire block, not just one sign. And if there's no sign there, go down to the block to see there's a sign. Even if it's not where you park your vehicle, just take an extra steps to just make sure that you can park there to be on the safe side. Because listen, you don't want to come out and your car is not there, and you don't want to go down to the Navy Yard to get your car. It's not fun. It really isn't. And you don't want to waste time. And also, don't rely on grace periods. Some areas, from my understanding, yes, you do have grace periods. Some of them you don't. I have not seen that legally anywhere that you have a grace periods, but we were told that from my understanding we can. But I always treat it like you don't have any grace period because um, we can't afford to get tickets, right? And handle tickets quickly, right? If you have any parking tickets, yes, you might not, your insurance might not go up, but still in all, those tickets add up, right? And they can accumulate and they can go into judgment, and then you can get towed, and then and not only towed, but your vehicle registration could be suspended, and it's going to cost you so much money. So please just try to handle it quickly, because I've been there multiple times. And don't assume being inside your car makes you exempt. Just because you're sitting in your car at a no standing sign or a no standing area, you can still get ticketed. You can still get ticketed because you're not supposed to be parked there, right? So when it comes to parking, knowledge saves money. So that is it for this week, us going live. So I hope this information was helpful. Please, if you want us to talk about anything that's parking that is on that is on your mind that you feel like you need more clarity around, please put it in the comments. Drop it in the comments, and we're open to new suggestions. Okay. And then also, if you like it, click that like. Just do it. It takes like 2 seconds, right? And then forward it to someone who, they don't know the parking rules, or it might be helpful to them, right? It may be not, but you can forward to them and subscribe to our channel so you can constantly get information like that, because knowledge is key. Knowledge is key. And we always want to we want to put ourselves in a place that we can avoid this vicious parking ticket cycle. That is what we're doing. And also, listen, if you're a person that's looking for parking, you need to reserve and book parking ahead of time, or you need looking for parking and and you're not sure exactly where to look for parking, go to our app. Go to www.plentyi.com, search for parking. You can reserve and book your parking ahead of time so we can avoid all of this. Okay. Anyway, thank you for joining us. Take care, my Plenty family. Have a blessed evening. Stay safe, stay calm, and stay at peace. Take care.